Am I the idiot for telling my husband he was feeding our baby wrong? My 24F husband, 35M, and I have a 1-year-old, 15mo, daughter. He works full-time and is trying to go back to school. I'm the one who does most of the baby care and cooking and cleaning. Before we got married, I told him I wanted to be the stay-at-home mom when we had kids because I knew that he would have liked to be a stay-at-home dad if I was willing to work instead. He does help with baby care like feeding, bathing, and changing her diaper, but I usually am the one to do most of it, especially feeding her. In the last 2 or 3 months I have been struggling because I don't feel like he is listening when I tell him what I normally feed her. I will give some examples. Several weeks ago he got up early on a Saturday and did her normal morning routine, got her dressed and changed her diaper etc. The only problem was I normally feed her breakfast and then put her in her room to play with a small snack like Cheerios and her sippy cup with water. He didn't feed her breakfast, he just gave her milk and put her in her room to play. I woke up and found out that he got her up for me and thought that was nice and asked what he fed her for breakfast. He said he didn't, he just gave her milk. I was annoyed, but I reminded him that she shouldn't just be having milk for a meal anymore. Cow's milk isn't like formula, and even if it was formula, she's old enough that she's supposed to be eating real food. I think that should have been enough of a conversation for him to at least not do that specific thing anymore. I was wrong. The very next Saturday he did the exact same thing. No breakfast, just milk. Once she has the milk I can't feed her breakfast anymore because she's no longer hungry. So when he snapped at me and said, "If you don't like the way I do things, you can do it yourself," I couldn't really correct it that morning because she wouldn't eat. He hasn't gotten her up in the morning since. Fast forward to yesterday. He came home from work and will oftentimes go play with the baby for a bit before he does homework or other things. This time I asked him to get her up from her nap and to give her some checks and fill up her water. I assumed he did this so when we went in to play with her and then get her some dinner I was confused. Normally I give her plain rice checks or plain Cheerios. I don't want her eating too much sugar at this point in her life unless it comes from fruit. He knows this, and yet when I walked into her room I smelled the blueberry checks that he had given her. I also noticed that he gave her milk. Recently, I have told him that I've only been giving her milk before nap and bedtime because if I don't she chugs it and won't eat anything else. So he did 2 things that I know I have told him previously not to do. When I asked him about the checks he said I didn't specify which ones, which is true, but I thought that he would have remembered about the sugar thing. Then I asked why he gave her milk when he knows that we only do that before she sleeps, and he said to our baby, "I'm ignoring her." I said, "I feel like you don't listen to a word I say," and I promptly grabbed the dishes in her room and left. I went outside to walk our dog in the backyard so I could cool off. After I came in I kinda just ignored him and did some dishes while he gave the baby carrots. I got her a few other things to eat and finished doing dishes. Then we put her to bed and by the next 30 minutes I was talking to him again. The point is, am I being too controlling with her food and or a jerk for getting mad at him for seemingly not listening to me? ETA, it seems that many people agree that I am being a wee bit crazy. I will have another discussion with my husband and work out some compromises. I know that he loves our daughter and he is also trying to do what's best for her. She is happy and healthy, and that is what is important. I am going to work on relaxing about this because I see that it is not necessary for me to be so uptight about it. Thank you for all the advice. ETA 2, since people were asking about my husband wanting to be a stay-at-home dad. Here was my comment. What I meant by that was if he had married a career woman who wanted kids but was okay with her husband being a stay-at-home dad, he would have liked that. Or if we lived in a world where anyone and everyone could work at home and he could spend infinitely more time with his children, he would have liked that too. I too dreamed about being a mom whose job it was to take care of her children. He decided to allow me to be the stay-at-home mom because he knows I would be happier doing that than any job I'd work. He also knows that he has many interests that he enjoys getting paid to do and I don't. I just felt like that was very long and slightly irrelevant to add to my post, but I shall add it because people were wondering about it. ETA 3, I have had a discussion with my husband and we got all our feelings out on both sides and both apologized to each other. We were able to come up with a plan to help us both be happier while managing our baby's food. Thank you for everyone's perspectives, they were helpful to see. Comment 1. You know how you can slow your roll with these things. Ask yourself if whatever it is you're worrying about that he does, ask yourself if it will be a problem 6 months from now. If your husband gives your kid milk instead of breakfast once a week while you sleep in, is it going to be a problem in 6 months? Probably not, because your kid is going to demand breakfast. It's okay if a parent does something wrong once in a while, and that's a good thing, because it'll be you sometime. There are lots of ways to be a good parent. Comment 2. My sister did this until her husband stopped doing anything she didn't specifically say to do. Basically stopped thinking and having normal reactions to stuff needing to be done. Not just with the kids, everything. He got used to not being able to do anything right, so he quit trying. Nice guy, a bit passive, but she ruined him. Then of course she complained that he didn't do anything that she didn't tell him. I tell this cautionary tale to all of the young new moms I know. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for divorcing my wife because I found out her body count? I, 27M, have been married with my wife, 28F, for 8 months now. When I married her I was told to believe we both still had our V-cards because of religious reasons. But yesterday whilst we had some friends over we talked about how young kids these days have their first time and don't really wait until marriage anymore. To which my wife responded with, waiting till marriage doesn't make sense anyways, there are so many safe options now. I chose not to respond and just listen whilst our friend group had a discussion about it. Later that day I asked my wife if she regrets waiting until marriage, to which she responded, I didn't wait, I wanted to tell you, but I never felt comfortable sharing it. I have to admit then I got furious and said some things I regret saying, name calling etc., and told her to leave my house. Her parents lived 10 minutes away. I feel like I've been manipulated and that I've been keeping to myself for nothing. We had been dating for 7 months before we married. When she returned the day after I asked her what her real body count was and she told me it was with me included 17, to which she added that most of those were only a one-time thing and nothing felt more like real love than with me. I told her that she had a month to pack her stuff and we are getting a divorce. Thankfully we signed a strong prenup that stated that in any divorce no matter the reason our assets would not be divided. She agreed because she is the only grandchild of very rich grandparents. My friends and her family have been blowing me up saying that this is no reason to divorce since it has nothing to do with our relationship or marriage, but I disagree. If I knew she didn't have her V-card I would have never married her. Edit. Since it was unclear, she flat out told me she was a virgin too. When we started dating I told her I was waiting till marriage. After that I didn't explicitly say I wanted a wife who was also waiting, but there was no reason to since she was a virgin anyways. To clarify, I also was upset about what my wife said about waiting till marriage, that's why I asked her about it, but the topic as you can read soon changed. I hope this will be the last edit. The issue isn't her not being a virgin as I've stated in one of the comments. It's about her not waiting till marriage, whilst I did. If she married and divorced all 16 of those guys that it would have been fine. Although if you had 16 different divorces, I'd prob not be the 17th guy to marry you. Update. My wife came back home around 10 a.m. this morning. She stayed with her mom the day after the incident as well because I wasn't gonna be home until 10 p.m. because of my schedule on Friday, and it looked like she had been crying. I kept my distance even though I wanted to comfort her. I knew that it would just make things worse. I asked her to sit down so we can talk. I wanted to straight away tell her I was going for a divorce. She sat down and before I could tell her anything she said that she's pregnant. I was shocked since she's been on birth control and we didn't want to have kids until we were both at least 30. I asked how long she's known and if she knows how long she's been pregnant. She's known for 3 weeks now and has been pregnant for 5 months. I asked her why she didn't tell me sooner and she said she was planning to surprise me for my birthday, which is in 4 days. I don't do much to celebrate my birthday. She then told me she was planning on getting rid of it because she no longer feels appreciated by me and no longer wants me to father her child. I told her that that's fine since I was gonna talk to her about divorce, and then it felt like a bomb blew up. Screaming, crying, name calling, etc. I told her that I've already made my decision and she couldn't change it. She then started coming with a lot of ways she could make up for mistake. Even telling me I could start sleeping around whilst she stayed home, which made me upset because I'd never even think about cheating and that I'd have no reason to since our sex life has been great. I then told her that I wanted to know if she regrets what she did. She said that she regrets not telling me but doesn't regret doing it since it made her understand what she likes better and could still make me the perfect bed partner for what she likes because men always finish anyway. This made me just more upset because she basically treated me like a trained animal. I then told her that I will sleep in the spare bedroom until she could move back in with her parents. She then told me that if I divorce her she would simply keep the child so I'd be forced to at least co-parent with her and she could make sure I wouldn't remarry. I asked that if I were to change my mind and stay with her she'd still keep the child and she said it's her choice and she would do whatever she feels like. So I decided to stay with her and just pray she will abort, but I swear the moment she does it I will have my divorce papers ready. I also wanted to again clarify some things. No, aborting a child is not a sin as long as it's before the 120-day mark. We rushed for marriage because relationships are not allowed in my religion and she actually still complains to me about having waited too long. Yes, I love my wife, but she's shown me now that I simply cannot trust her and I will have to leave her. I asked her if I knew any of the guys she slept with, but she refuses to tell me anything about her past experiences apart from them not being as good as doing it with you, our husband. The name calling I mentioned was me calling her disgusting liar devil. I did apologize for the way I reacted. She never told me she was waiting for marriage, but she did say she was waiting for the right one. Which even if she didn't say wouldn't have mattered since she was a virgin anyway, so even if it wasn't for the same reason as me she still went to the same temptations as me and knew how hard it was. I called virginity the V card because I simply didn't know what was and wasn't allowed on Reddit and I didn't know it is a misogynistic term. Virginity is a social construct. Doesn't change the fact that social constructs can be important to people. Names, for example, are also a social construct, yet someone can get very upset if you use their dead name. Edit. I asked her to do a pregnancy test, but she refuses, but she pretty much refuses to do anything I ask now. It's basically like having a roommate. No, I'm not gonna be talking it out or man up. My wife lied to me about something important and is trying to make my life miserable. But once you love someone you can't ever hate them and I'm just trying to leave for both of us. Summary, since people don't want to read the whole post but want to comment anyways, here's a short version. She is pregnant and told me if I divorce her she will keep the child to make me have to be in her life to make sure I'm not gonna find love again. My decision is to stay with her until she will abort the child so that I can leave her without having an innocent child in the mix. Last edit, probably. I got bored so I'm writing this, and since I already made my decision it really doesn't matter what I write anymore. It's crazy to me how people that scream to want everyone to be able to love anyone without being judged are so upset about me wanting a wife that didn't have sex before marriage. You don't have to agree with my reasoning for you to understand that it's something important to me and I feel betrayed. I myself was a virgin, so it isn't hypocritical to want to marry one. I wanted my first time to be shared with my wife and got fooled into thinking it was. I'm not insecure about my sex life, it was great and my wife is still trying to keep it alive. I don't believe that being a virgin is pure or makes you a better person. I do believe though that having sex with someone outside of marriage makes sex worth less to you. To me, sex isn't just a physical act, it's the way to prove to your partner you truly love them and are willing to be with them till the end, and only through marriage are you truly promising each other that. If you disagree with me and think that sex is just a physical act and means nothing, then I see no reason why people couldn't cheat since it's just a physical act. As long as you don't bring in STDs, of course, but you guys seemed okay with not wanting to want someone who has a STDs in the first place. Yes, the past is the past, but it does have to do with me as it affected how my wife, the person, views sex differently than me, and it means we aren't compatible. I would have not married her in the first place if I knew before, so now I want a divorce not only because we are clearly not compatible, but more so that she pretended we were just so she could settle down and get married. If you disagree with me and think marriage isn't how you promise each other to be there forever, I would like to know what you believe marriage is. Comment 1. God. Thank you. I thought I was the only one who thought that. I literally drew the same conclusion and couldn't understand why no one else caught that she was on BC and was just trying to keep him from leaving. Phew. Thank you, internet friend. I was beginning to think that all of humanity was doomed, but now I can at least be reassured that there is at least one other pessimistic, jaded cynic roaming the globe with me. Internet high five. Comment 2. To be fair, they very well could be Mormons. Which I mean, it doesn't make his reaction to this at all better, but it would make complete sense. That being said, these people both seem absolutely unhinged.